Assalamu alaikum class. Yesterday in the last chapter we were having the different rules of subject verb agreement. We read different rules of subject verb agreement, how the verb and subject coordinate with each other as far as the selection of verb is concerned. In this lecture number 16 we are going to uh, have the practice of that subject verb agreement. Here I have some sentences where we are going to see how the verb is selected on the basis of the subject. In sentence number 1, neither the manager nor his employees. Yesterday we read that whenever the neither and nor are used in pair, we always use plural verb with them. Fine. How plural verb. We are using plural verb for this statement. Why? Because whenever neither and nor are used in pair, the verb is selected on the base of second subject. Here my second subject is plural. Fine. So I am using were present at the meeting. I am using plural verb for this. Again, I'm telling you, whenever the neither and nor are used in pairs, the verb is selected on the base of second subject. Okay, now we move on to the second sentence, the sentence number B. Either of the two suggested proposals. Fine. I have told you, whenever we use either always takes singular verb with it, whether it is followed by of or whether it is used alone. By either we means anyone. Either means any one out of two. Okay, so either of the two suggested proposals sounds. Either takes singular verb and sounds is a singular verb, so I'm using this singular verb with this. None of the tenants. None, by what we mean by none? By none we means no one. Whenever none is used without the follow up of, okay, we use singular verb with an. None has done his duty, like no one has done the duty. But whenever none is followed by of, none of the tenants, then we have plural verb with that. Whenever none is followed by of, we take plural verb, and whenever none is used alone, it takes singular verb. So here it is followed by of, so I am using plural verb for that. See, I have told you in the last lecture that collective nouns take singular verb, but whenever some conditions are there, fine, we use sometimes plural verb for that. For example, here that particular conditions meet. Here we have been followed about the number of the audience, about the number of different persons. Fine. Here we follow that in the sentence there is a plural number for the singular collective noun. So basing on that information, I'm not using is with it, rather I am using the audience are returning to their seats. If the sentence structure might be different, I might be using singular verb with it. For example, the audience is quiet. The audience was quiet throughout the show. Okay, here it is not being followed by the plural information, so I use the singular verb with that. Countable nouns might take singular and might take plural verb in the context of their meanings. The senior judge said that my book, most interesting judgment, is recommended. Why? Because that my this is a singular book. The senior judge is talking about his singular book, though the name of the book shows the plural number, but we are talking about the particular book, so I am using the singular verb for that. Okay, two windows and a door needs to be repaired. Why I am using needs? we have read that whenever two subjects are combined with and, that takes singular verb. Fine. But here the case is different. Why? Because both of these two subjects are being provided with their adjectives. Okay. Here the adjective is plural and here the adjective is singular. Here my second subject has singular adjective, so I am using the singular verb for that. Now we come up to the last statement, that is Shamim is one of the implies. One. Shamim is the one employee out of other employees, yeah, among other employees who often works at home. Like all other employees, Shamim is a singular noun. Like all other employees, Shamim is also an employee who works at home. Okay, so this was all with the subject verb agreement practice. It is very important practice, and as far as your ICAP paper is concerned, it is also an important topic, so you must practice this question as much as you can. Okay, this was the practice of subject verb agreement topic. Now we move on to the other topic of the same chapter, that is more on clauses, on page number 277. More on clauses. Here we have been given in detail about knowledge about the clauses. What do we mean by clause? Let's start with the definition of clause. We have seen in chapter number 1 that clause is a group of words which conveys complete meaning and it makes part of a sentence. What is a clause? Clause is a group of words which conveys complete meaning and it makes part of a sentence. Like what? We can always have more than one meaning in a sentence. We can always have more than one parts in a sentence. So clause is one of the part of a sentence that conveys complete meaning. For example, Aslam is a student and he works hard. Here in this sentence we have two verbs. The first verb is and the second verb is he. Fine. And here we see we have two parts of a sentence. The first part closes at Aslam is a student. Fine. And the other part is he works hard. Here both these parts are called as clauses. So what we say, we might say that this sentence is combined with two clauses. The first clause conveys the complete meaning, Aslam is a student. The second clause is he works hard. Again it is a clause and it also conveys a complete meaning. Clauses, now we move on to different types of clauses. Okay, types of clauses. We might have three types of clauses. Fine. The first clause is called as main clause. The second type is called as coordinate clause. And the third type is called as subordinate clause. Main clause, coordinate clause and subordinate clause. Here we have an example. We try to prop the types of clauses in it. Aslam is a student. This clause is not followed by any conjunction. Fine. It is complete in its meaning and it is the first main part of a sentence. So this clause can be named as main clause. It is a main clause of a sentence. Here, this and is the part of this clause. Okay, and we call it and is a coordinate conjunction. What are coordinate conjunctions? The acronym FAN, boys, all these 7 conjunctions or connectives are known as coordinate conjunctions. That includes and, for, but, yet, or, so. They are called as coordinate conjunctions. This clause is followed by a coordinate conjunction, so this clause might be called as coordinate clause. This clause might be called as coordinate clause. Whenever a clause is followed by a coordinate conjunction, that is called as subordinate clause. And if we see overall the structure of this sentence, we call this sentence as a compound sentence. So we see that all compound sentences are composed of 2 types of clauses. One must be the main clause and the other clause must be the coordinate clause. Why? Because of the presence of the coordinate conjunction in that clause. Now we move on to the third type of sentence, third type of clause, that is known as subordinate clause. Fine. Subordinate clause is a name given on the basis of the presence of subordinate conjunction. What are subordinate conjunctions? Subordinate conjunction includes if, that, because, until, unless. They are most commonly used subordinate conjunctions. If a clause might be having any one of these conjunctions, they are called as, that clause is called as subordinate clause. Now we can see the examples. If you work hard, you will win the competition. If you work hard, you will win the competition. Here this clause is, this is called subordinate clause. And this is called main clause. And this sentence is called complex sentence. So we see that all complex sentences are composed of a main clause and a subordinate clause. Why this clause has been named as subordinate clause? Because of the presence of this subordinate conjunctions. Now there is a question. What? The question is this, like we can have the example. The patient had died before the doctor reached. Fine. Here, this is a main clause and this is the subordinate clause. What is the basic difference between these two sentences? Here my first clause is a subordinate clause. Here my second clause is a subordinate clause. Okay, this is very much similar, or this is very much common with the subordinate conjunctions, that they might be placed in the beginning and they might be placed in the mid of the sentence. Why? Because they might be placed on both these positions. Fine. On the other hand, the coordinate conjunctions always must be present within the two clauses. It would never be in the beginning of the sentence. We can never rewrite this sentence in this way, and he works hard, Aslam is a student. No, fine. Coordinate clause must always be followed by a main clause. On the other hand, the subordinate clause must be on either of the position. It might be after the main clause, or it might be before the main clause. Here it is before the main clause, and here it is after the main clause. Okay, and why they are called as subordinate clauses? Because of the presence of the subordinate conjunction. This clause is called as subordinate clause. But subordinate means dependent. Why they are called subordinate or dependent clauses? Subordinate clause has got another name, that is called as dependent clause. Why it is called dependent clause? Why? Because it is dependent on the meaning of a main clause, so this is called as dependent clause, and it is the main clause which is completing the meaning of this clause, so this is called as subordinate clause. So we have seen there, here we have seen more on clauses. The topic was more on clauses, and that was the in detail about the clauses. We have seen three different types of clauses. First was called the main clause, second is called the subordinate coordinate clause, and the third is called the subordinate clause. Coordinate clause has the function of the coordination of the meaning of the clauses. Here it coordinates, it is not dependent on the main clause, rather it coordinates the meaning of the main clause with the other clause. Okay, on the other hand, subordinate clause is always dependent on the completion of the on the main clause, on the meaning of the main clause, so that is called as subordinate clause. It was all with the topic of more on clauses. In the tomorrow's lecture we'll be having a detailed topic on the use of different punctuation marks, and that is one of the part of the chapter number 7.